So Power Book 2 Ghost is finally back with a very good premiere episode which answered quite a few questions from the trailer and some of the storylines from season 1, and at times it definitely had a horror feel to it, mainly because of the eerie background music that they had playing in the background through certain situations. But this episode was all about catching up with old characters such as the Tejadas and Tariq, and this whole storyline with Jabari's death, of course, where Tariq made a rookie mistake in putting the battery back into his burner phone that he used to contact Jabari with. But there was also Rashad Tate who returned, and he's also going to be a regular this season. And this episode was all about introducing some new characters such as Mecca, the new Connect. There was also Kevin Whitman and Davis Maclean's brother, Redman, who's going to be playing Theo Rollins. But Tariq's life is pretty much a mess, and you can tell he misses Tasha. Monet wants out of the game. Kane's found a new partner to work with who will give him this respect, and there was definitely a hell of a lot that went down in today's premiere episode, so we're going to be diving deep into all of the key details and storylines. But of course, if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 2 Ghost and Power Universe related. But this episode kicked off pretty much a day after from the events of season 1, because they mentioned that Jabari's body was there overnight, and Carrie mentioned to Kevin Whitman the last time she saw Jabari alive was yesterday in his office. Now season 2 picks up with Tariq waking up at his Grandma Estelle's apartment, and for those who remember, Grandma Estelle was the only person who got anything from Ghost Estate, a year's worth of rent paid at this apartment. And the minute I saw Tariq with his burner cell that he used to message Jabari with, I knew this would come back to him. It was something we spoke about during the Power Off season, how Tariq was the last person to message Jabari. And it was a constant theme throughout this episode, where Tariq wanted to get in touch with Tasha, and he even rang Davis Maclean to see if he could track Tasha down. But he's in total isolation this season, he is definitely on his own. But there were questions why Yaz is going to be taken into foster care, and this is the reason why. Grandma Estelle, she's not getting any younger, and it seems like she's got some mild form of dementia as well. She didn't even remember that Tariq came home and stayed the night, so I'm sure this is something that will play out over the next few episodes, where she gets to a point where she can't look after Yaz, or maybe even potentially dies. So let's just wait and see what happens with that one. But let's stick with Tariq for a moment, because Jabari's death is something that did and didn't impact Tariq. There were quite a few flashbacks, not only of Jabari's death, but Ghost's death as well. Braden provided him with an escape and took him on his family hunting trip, where he had this vision of Jabari after he was given the kill shot with this deer, but he couldn't. Now he could kill Jabari, but he couldn't kill this deer. But then on the other hand, he also shows how he's dealing with Jabari's death and how he's able to hide his emotions, especially when it came to Lauren and Carrie. Lauren said, "You don't seem upset about Jabari's death," and that's because he's used to seeing people around him die. He actually opened up to Lauren, and he rolled off a long list of people that have died around him. His twin sister Raina, Ghost, he's lost 2 best friends, his godmother and his godfather, and of course now he's lost both of his parents. And this is the reality of being around Tariq. We're gonna hear Cooper Sack say this season, wherever Tariq goes, there's always a death. But as he said, he's seen so much death in his life that nothing phases him anymore, he doesn't feel anything. But we're about to find out how Tariq will be able to handle this situation now, especially when the murder investigation is brought right on his doorstep at Stansfield, which we will get to later on in this video. But let's talk about the Tejadas next, because there was definitely some interesting dialogue between all of them. Now Monet's got her head on a constant swivel because of how she killed Rico at the end of season 1, and Dru's sick and tired of Monet. You could tell at the beginning of this episode, he blames Monet for what happened to him because he feels she should have been there to protect him. Monet still has Dru and Diana playing these positions and teaching them how to move, and even dictating what clothes Diana can and can't wear. But Diana does take on what Monet teaches her though, something I mentioned in my previous video with how we're going to see Diana starting to become her own and take on what she learns from both Monet and Tariq. Dru's still struggling with his recovery, and he can't even do the one thing he loves, which is draw. Drawing is Dru's escape from the world, and he doesn't have this escape at this moment, so he's just going to be this character that bottles up this anger inside of him until it's time to blow. But with Monet, you can tell she definitely wants more control this season, and she wants more. She's got a plan to get them out of the drug game because she doesn't want a repeat situation of Dru getting shot again. She's got a 3-year plan. She wants Zeke to enter the draft, and the family will follow him wherever he goes, with each of them playing their positions. Monet will manage him, Dru will travel with him, and Diana will be in charge of publicity. But if you noticed, she forgot to mention Kane and Lorenzo in her plan before she was interrupted with the news about Jabari's death, which I will come to in just a moment. But Dru is clearly not happy with Monet, and you can see why we're going to see this Tejada family split this season. He's beginning to question her decision making already. He calls Monet's decision to ask Tariq if he had anything to do with Jabari's murder stupid, because Tariq was always going to say no. He even called her exit strategy bullshit because she didn't even ask Dru and Diana how they feel about the plan, because they're not kids anymore. Dru doesn't want Monet to define who he is, and Diana agrees. And now we're going to see Dru and Diana going behind Monet's back and making moves of their own, something they already foreshadowed in the first season when Diana and Dru were spending all their time up at Stansfield with Evan and Tariq. But now they're going to go that one step further with the moves that they're going to make, and this situation is going to get even more complicated and messy when Mecca re-enters her life, because Mecca is a love interest from the past and is someone who she liked before. He may be able to give Monet something that Lorenzo can't, which is protection and a way out. So let's talk about Mecca and Kane next, and then we'll come to the murder investigation of Jabari. Now Mecca is the new connect, and we already know from the previous teasers that he's connected to Lil Guap's father, Big Guap. He said that he's heard of Lorenzo but never met him, but I find that hard to believe considering Big Guap took a bullet for Lorenzo, so they must have come across each other before, but we'll have to wait and see. But Mecca and Kane deal with these soft GTG boys, and it wasn't until towards the end of the episode where we see them again. Mecca has the other Guap that got away, and Mecca gives Kane a task. He told him that he can show him mercy, have him suffer, or kill him, but the choice he makes will tell Mecca exactly who he is. And Kane shows him who he is. He unties the Guap and deals with him without any weapons. And of course, it wouldn't be a power premiere without a death, and Kane tells Mecca, that's who I am. And we're gonna see them both striking up a bond. And then we see Kane later on running by his plane, which has a shit ton of product, but he also notices that he hasn't got the soldiers to move his way, and Kane tells him that he can help. He goes back to Monet with a new connect, but she's done with Kane, for now anyway, but we'll see her accepting Kane back into the family, and they will eventually be working together again, which may even be next week. But let's talk about this whole Jabari murder investigation and this phone that Tariq has, which is what will lead Kevin Whitman's investigation to be focused and centered at Stansfield, and it definitely will make a lot of people edgy, especially Zeke, Carrie, Tariq, and Monet as well. But let's start from the beginning. They find Jabari's body as well as the murder weapon, and the plan was to frame Ramirez with Jabari's death and make it look like Ramirez has skipped town, which is what we see Tariq telling Kane in this episode. He tells him, don't worry, he's got this. But once Ramirez's body is found and they match up the forensics and realize that he was shot with the same gun, they'll know Ramirez wasn't the one who killed Jabari. So shit is definitely about to get real for Tariq. Now Kevin actually reaches out to Carrie because they have a past. They used to work together and they used to date as well, and she's excited to see him because she's done with Jabari and done with Zeke, so she says anyway. But he takes Carrie to identify Jabari's body, where he even questions whether she was involved in Jabari's death because she's blurred the personal and professional lines before, so Carrie may find herself as one of the main suspects soon. Now of course Carrie automatically thinks that the Tejadas are involved, but Zeke tells Carrie that it would never have been the Tejadas to kill Jabari because they would never put his basketball career on the line by killing someone at Stansfield, which would put Zeke in danger, and this is what will make Carrie investigate Jabari's death and try to find answers herself. But news filters through campus about Jabari's death and also to the Tejadas as well, and Monet questions Tariq about whether he had anything to do with Jabari's murder, and he knows what will happen if he's lying. And of course he knows the consequences, but of course he's not going to tell Monet about his involvement in his death. There's no way Tariq would admit the truth, and he's also someone who plays his cards really close to his chest. But at the end of the episode, he switches that burner back on, which was his biggest mistake, because that call was connected back to Stansfield, and that's now going to be the hub and the beginning of their investigation. And now we're going to see the police swarming all over Stansfield next week, that's for sure. And this is the reason why we're going to see Effie returning and working with Tariq, which I will go through in a bit more detail in my part 2 video, which I will release later on this evening. But elsewhere in the episode, we were also introduced to Davis Maclean's brother, Theo Rollins. They could have easily been sitting on the opposite sides of this table, which is why he's going to try and do everything he can do to try and get him out of prison. And this is the reason why he's asked Sax to come and work with him. He doesn't know it yet, but Sax is going to be helping Maclean in more ways than one. And we also see a drunk mess in Rashad Tate after his governor defeat, but he also takes some advice from his brother to get back up on his feet and serve the people, which is what kicks him back into gear. And we're going to see him going after Congressman Rick Sweeney's position at the table, and we're starting to see Tate's shady ways come into play already by using Kamal's access to the police database to find out some information on Sweeney. But Kamal will soon find himself brought in on the investigation at Stansfield, and Tate's going to be working there too as well, so that's definitely going to be interesting. So that was episode 1 of season 2, and a lot went down in this first episode. They touched on a lot of storylines with the Tejadas, and Monet wanting out of the game with this 3-year exit plan. Dru and Diana, they're going to be the next ones to rebel against Monet, causing this Tejada family split. We were also introduced to Mecca, so let me know what you made of his first impressions. And of course, let me know what you thought about Tariq hanging onto the burner, which has put Stansfield at the center of the investigation for Jabari's death. Drop me all your comments down below, and I will be back in the evening with my second video as usual. So if you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 2 Ghost and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.